Hi there, welcome to the latest news in the Presgrove case with discussions about Zachery Wright to do with the police who had stepped down or has been removed from the case. We'll focus a little bit in on that today, look at the comments, the backstory behind it, and share with you some of my thoughts, what I can remember to some extent when it came to Zachery Wright, when it came to Jack Newton, and I think even Robin Smith when conversations were going about, but individually. Why did Zach step down? Is it because of an internal investigation which would push the idea from some in the community as, oh, could this well be a sign of corruption and those are being held accountable now? Or is it because Zachery Wright's services are no longer needed because other people have stepped on in? A more simple explanation. We'll see how things go. And today I'll share with you just some small new court documents which have come out in regards to the estate of Presgrove. Just share that with you. And if there's any additional time, I might go through some comments later on in the video. Just know as a heads up, I will have a bit of a deeper video coming either tomorrow or the day after. Not guaranteed that there will be a video tomorrow just because of being a bit busy. So just see how things go there. But for those that are currently watching the live premiere, welcome. Share your thoughts, opinions, live reactions in the chat box on the right hand side of the screen there. And down below in the comment section, there is a pinned message with a PayPal link if you want to support my channel, and channel membership as well. If you simply want to leave your thoughts, questions and answers, you're welcome to do so. It does help with spreading awareness. And if you want to check the recent videos out, if you've missed out on any, and look at the full playlist of the Presgrove case, that is available top right corner where the I symbol is. So last night, a rather deep video amongst the theme of Justin Roy that will continue on in a day or two. When it comes to the suspect list, already acknowledged Donna's list when it came to trying to figure out what that was all about, as in partygoers and whatnot. I think that might have also linked on to the list, which was when I was showing you those last never seen before conversations, messages, summarized from my vision of what I've seen to you in recent time, which dated back to the past with Caden and some unknown individual. There's a lot of clutter pretty much all over the place, and that might just be at the times of when there's not much else to talk about, not so much with me, but just going on within the community. You know, when it comes to the actual hard evidence, you can nail down on that and just lock in. But other times it's just going to be open discussions, but it's all important because it can lead to some answers and it could lead to some movement. Welcome to any new people that have been watching my channel, my videos just recently and even last night. There's a good decent amount of people watching live as well last night, so I do appreciate that. Try and keep the momentum going. So the order of how we'll do things is I'll read to you the post and the caption of it, try and understand it, analyze, then further look at the comments and responses by others with some screenshots. This post can be found on Facebook case discussion page 23 hours ago, taking the screenshot by Lilia Pinson. Before we read through that, I do once again need to acknowledge these little documents. Hopefully you can see it. It is wonky, but that's just how it was posted and printed. So let's just see. Filed District Court, Stephens County, June 26, 2025. It's a little bit before. In the District Court of Stephens County, State of Oklahoma, in the matter of the estate of Noah Alexander Nichols, Presgrove, deceased. Judge Wheeler. Notice to creditors, State of Oklahoma, County of Oklahoma. All persons having claims against Noah Alexander Nichols, Presgrove deceased, are required to present the same with a description of all security, interest, and other collateral, if any, held by each creditor with respect to such claim, to the named personnel representative's attorney at. Here's a description there. On or before the following presentment date, Tuesday, August 26, 2025. Or the same will be non-suited, void, and forever barred. Now, we're in August now, and before that, July, and I believe it was July 31st, first when it came to the deadline date of the subpoena in regard to OHP and what they had to hand over. I think it was with that one, and if not, it would have been with the previous thing. I'm sure the subpoena was end of July. So what's happened with that, whether it's got anything to do directly with this, I said I'm not an expert when it comes to all these fancy words and the law stuff, but let's just see the second page, the affidavit of publication. Zoom in just a little bit. Filed District Court, Stephens County, July 29th. Getting on a little bit. County Stephens, I, Crystal Childers, of lawful age, being duly sworn upon oath, deposes and says that I am the publisher of the Duncan Banner, a daily publication that is a legal newspaper, as that phrase is defined in 25, as amended to date for the city of Duncan, the county of Stephens in state of Oklahoma. The attachment hereto contains a true and correct copy of what was published in the regular edition of said newspaper and not in a supplement in consecutive issues on the following dates, publication dates, June 28th, 2025, July 5th, 2025. And then on the side, what does that say? Published in the Saturday editions of the Duncan Banner, June 28th and July 5th, in the District Court of Stephens County, State of Oklahoma, in the matter of the estate of Noah Presgrove, with the case Judge Wheeler, same thing mentioned here, all persons having claims against Noah, deceased, are required to present the same with a description of all security interest, and so on and so on. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. You let me know what you think of that. Personally, it's just to share with you, which has just come about recently. Publication fee, $0. Sherry McCormack, Notary Public, State of Oklahoma. Okay. Moving on, let's focus here. 23 hours ago, Lalia says, so Zachary Wright was removed from Noah's case. I wasn't aware of that, I'll be honest with you. It's news to me. Do we know exactly when he was removed? If he was removed at a certain time of an event coinciding, coincidence or not, you could link it with a possible idea. Most of the information out there was from when he was working the case. What do we consider most of the information out there? What's considered information compared to what's been claimed as rumours or not backed up with hard evidence? It would be good to do like a bullet point list of everything that's come from Zachary Wright's work on the case, which is deemed as a fact. There is a reason why he was removed from this case. Is anyone going to ask the big question of why? Why was he removed? How many people can honestly put stock into what he has said? He is obviously not on the case anymore for a reason. I could not trust anything he has said to be actual facts at this point. Anyone else feel the same way? If so, explain why. This is a legit question to just weigh out my thought process. So when it comes to Zachary Wright, if I'm correct in saying, wasn't there a time where there was some screenshots from either Facebook Messenger or more so iMessenger, Zachary Wright talking to someone, whether it's direct or to somebody else, about the said individual, Justin Roy. I know in the early days when Caden Pressey was having that very first call with Anthony Linares, who later had an interview with him, but when calling for the very first time, because it was kind of set up in some way by Justin Roy, Anthony Linares was calling out Justin Roy for having 2 pieces out of a 5-piece jigsaw puzzle, and it just wasn't enough, and that one of the pieces was incorrect or ruled out very quickly, so there was no point in constantly calling and constantly slowing and interfering with the investigation because it wasn't doing much good. And Caden on the call said, yeah, I agree. So there was a negative outlook there towards Justin, and that's by police. But then I think Zachary Wright at some point was going into some depth about Justin Roy. Are we single-handedly point out Justin? It's just, I'm just relaying what I can roughly remember in my head, and you may as well. was there a time where Zachary Wright may have come across as unprofessional in how he was talking or how he was typing on behalf or about someone, and it just seemed a bit too casual, the conversation, when it's a member of authority, a member of police or OHP, whichever, that's talking the way they are or typing the way they are, but then other people have said in the background, well, they know one another, or it's a small community, they might communicate with each other in a bit more of a lenient, loose way compared to if you may be a stranger to the place. I don't know how it works in closer, smaller communities like that. But Zachary Wright, earlier on in the case, I think there was that possible push at one point saying that Zachary Wright was friends or close to people on the dark side, some of the party goers or party goers' parents or guardians or friends of friends, because I think there was a post which Vanessa Salazar was pushing online, an actual post for once, and it showed Zachary Wright either a member of security, police, or working on set of a movie production somewhere, and he was posing in front of the camera with some people, and then those that were liking the post were those from the so-called dark side and so on, and people were trying to associate that photo with their friends and the likes from those within the case, or somehow tied within the case, as it all being corrupt and dark and dodgy in some way. So I don't know if people would throw that out there and say, well, because of the level of communication, how Zachary Wright has spoken or typed at times, even though granted they were private conversations which were leaked or revealed public, I guess Zachary wasn't anticipating that, at least. But then furthermore, friends with those within the case, or friends of friends of those within the case, and so on, which could create a possible conflict of interest, which people could push and twist and say it comes across as bias and unfair, and there might be some favoritism going on with him. I mean, in terms of being paid off in that sense, it could be a step too far, but suggestions what people have said that police have been paid off and there's corruption. Has anyone directly associated it and called out Zachary Wright for that? I think it might have been Zachary Wright that was telling Justin off and said, you got to stop calling me out, or to someone about being labelled as being a part of the death or friends within the case. It's damaging and it's not right. It's spreading these false claims. I think it was something to do along the lines of that. I'm sure there'll be other people that will be able to relay or re-quote it better than I can. But this casual, loose conversation, when it is with police, certain individuals, people could say it's a bit unprofessional. You did have that time where Caden Pressey, June 2024, was it Zachary Wright and then another guy? Or was it Anthony Linares and another guy? I don't want to say for certain, because I'm not too sure. But if it was Zachary Wright, or at least one of the guys that was in that room with Caden, June 2024, some people put the argument across there and said it was a little bit unprofessional because they were getting a bit forceful with the language and wording, and a bit of twisting with words, and kind of getting Caden to agree that he was there Friday when Caden was unsure himself, going back and forth. And then one of the guys, which might have been the guy, but I'm not too sure, to be honest. Okay, Zachary could have been. I've not really heard his voice much, so I wouldn't be able to pick it out. Same with like Alicia, to be honest, in some ways. But I know some people said that Alicia was right outside the door of the interview room. I don't know if that's an exaggeration or if that's the actual truth. But when Caden Pressey was unsure about whether he was there Friday, we've heard before that, or before the interview was leaked at least, that he was there Saturday, and that's when it started. Alicia worded it as if it was more past midnight going Sunday when Caden had just arrived, which seems a bit out there, unusual. First time hearing that, but that was heard later. What we heard first was Saturday. What we heard with the leaked interview was Friday, and with going back and forth in wording and talking, one of the police guys, when the interviewers had said, you were probably there Friday, you might have been there Friday, it would make sense, it's the party, it's the start, you'd probably be there. And Caden's like, yeah. So it didn't seem quite natural that, or professional, in my opinion. Not everybody agrees. People say, oh, it's fine, it's normal, it's okay. I guess there's different outlooks. The other thing what some people were pushing was the unprofessionalism when it came to Caden Pressey bringing it up towards the end of the interview, an hour or two in, by mentioning Kathy Bingham and her sharing Caden footage at the highway and the black shorts being removed, even though later Kathy Bingham said, I never had a video of it, never had anything like that. So I don't know why Caden would say that. If Kathy Bingham is supposedly correct, it's just a bit of a weird situation that. And not really seen any follow-ups or updates since. There was a brief spell maybe some months ago when Kathy Bingham was commenting on my channel, but has stopped ever since. Who knows what's going on in the background. But when Caden brought up in his interview about material and the highway footage, it caught the police's attention, and they were like, oh, wait, you know about it? And the voice, the tone changed. It could have sounded a bit forceful, depends how you interpret it, right? It's open to interpretation. And how they were speaking and talking down to Caden as well. It got up people's backs at the time with what Caden had to put up with. And then others were like, well, it's no big deal. It's pretty normal, that type of interview. So I don't really listen to lots of interviews myself. So it's just like kind of like a first time thing when it comes to a police one, I'll be honest with you. But these little components along the way, which may have involved Zachery Wright, could be arguments which people put across and try and justify to explain why Zachery Wright is no longer on the case. There could also be much deeper reasons as well, and darker ones. But then there could also be deeper reasons which haven't come to surface, which explain it in more of an innocent way. Yeah, I think there was a moment by Jack Newton that was talking about the case. Can't remember what it was about now. I don't know if it'll come to my head. And people were saying, yeah, that's what we needed to hear. It was cropped out of previous screenshots or conversations in the past and never really shown, because some people were gatekeeping it and pushing an alternative narrative with Jack Newton. Something to do with Zachary Wright passing on info to Jack Newton. I think it was Zachary Wright saying how he thinks that Noah's death was accidental. An opinion, but, key individual saying it. I'm sure Zachary Wright was saying, because we've got to be careful here, because Jack worded it in such a way on behalf of what he was told by Zachary Wright. But then I think Zachary Wright there was a screenshot of Zachary Wright responding to somebody else or a separate comment message talking about it, and there was specific wording to it. I believe it's somewhere on my channel, but it's probably a bit difficult to find because there's so many videos and clutter everywhere. But I believe Zachary Wright possibly believed it to be maybe an accident and Noah could have fallen out of a moving vehicle. I believe it was along the lines of that, but I do know some specific wording was used. I'm just being careful around that. If it's just an opinion, it's just an opinion, but from kind of an expert, it does speak volume in some way. And I guess Jack was kind of relaying that on to whoever in a Facebook Messenger conversation. Now, okay, Jack may have heard that from Zachary Wright, but I do believe that Robin Smith was in contact with Zachary Wright, and what Zachary had to say differed in the possible cause of death, or opinion-wise, towards Robin Smith, victim's family member. I don't know if it was complete opposite wording or just slightly tuned to come across and be interpreted differently. But how Jack heard it to Zachary to how Robin heard it to Zachary, there was a split. And was that done as a means of telling one the truth, the other one a lie, or not quite the truth, to see how they react and respond as a test? I know in the Dylan Rounds case, you had Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds, the parents, and whilst they were no longer together but once were in a relationship, and they are still the parents. They're still the parents to Dylan Rounds. But back then, in 2022 onwards, when they were split apart and interviewed separately and told stuff, they were told separate things. And then when Justin Rounds and Candice Cooley came together to talk about it, they were told different things and were double guessing, doubting themselves, kind of confused as to what to think and what to believe in, and so on. It was done as a test to see who's guilty and who's not, who reacts innocently, who reacts abnormally. If it was done like that, with best friend to know Jack Newton and then a victim's family, such as Robin Smith, the aunt to know Presgrove, might have been an experiment, but not really much came from it if that was the case. But I don't know, it's like, it might not all revolve around Zachery Wright, but there's been times where it feels like the police or certain members have communicated with some people in the case more so than others, and others may be more deserving of knowing the actual truth, like Noah's family, immediate or secondary family members. So there have been instances where it sounds like some know more than others because they've either been in contact more or been reached out to more frequently by police, which might have involved Zachery Wright at some point. I do think there are some screenshots, but they might not be to do with Zach, they might be to do with Kathy Bingham, because I had a flick for it before when it came to that post by Lilia Pinson, the comment section. So just to fill it out a bit more now, maybe for a bit more context, because there will be other people that have been around longer and at around the time when Zachary was more involved in the case, community members that may have witnessed more. Let's acknowledge the comment section. Let's just take a look down here. We go on all comments. First of all, 14 hours ago, George Chojan says, "What's hilarious is the family's private investigator, Kathy Bingham, was still sending stuff to Zachary Wright, like Facebook posts, etc. I recall Kathy sent the one of Justin Roy texting with Noah's minor girlfriend, trying to get the girlfriend to get the murder video, offered her $500. So Kathy Bingham sent that to Zachary, and he responded, 'Why are you sending me this sheet also?' he asked Kathy. 'Why are you sharing our personal text with people up in Canada?' So I asked Kathy, 'Yeah, why don't you tell him why? Too funny. Anyway, yeah, Zachary Wright is still doing well, advancing in his career, and still joking that preparation will make Justin just shrink.' Okay, whatever that's about. So with Kathy Bingham still sending Zachary Wright stuff, what does that actually mean? Meaning that if Kathy is still sending Zachary Wright information, that means Zachary is still on the case or in the background working? Or does it mean that Kathy is a bit slow in picking up on the fact that Zachary's no longer working on the case, so by sending him stuff it's pointless? What way are we supposed to interpret this? I mean, yeah, Noah's family PI sure has a lot of stuff to be explaining. Right, what's this? So that is Kathy Bingham on the left in the grey box with her profile picture. Well, Zach texted me and asked me why I was showing someone from Canada our text messages. I was just wondering. Nope, not at all. Have him show you. It's okay. I'm not worried about it. I was just wondering why he was so worried about it. Who's he? Zach texted me. What? Zach and George Chodan? What? Zach's not actually worried whatsoever, but maybe Kathy should be. And Noah's family should be too? No? Why should Noah's family be worried? Is this linking back to some dark, dirty secret? Is anything of this linking back to the time when Brooke Bounce Carter said on behalf of Stevie Howard that if you push her into a corner, she will swing and pull other people down, and it could lead to revealing something Noah's family doesn't want to be revealed public? Some dark secret? Maybe in this case is if Kathy Bingham, gets in trouble in some way, that, the blame falls back on the victim's family for hiring her? Kathy doing it pro bono, though, so what agreements are there? Is there anything in the contract? If there is one. Denise Arnold, oh, that last sentence, hilarious. That's so rich. Right, okay. Take in mind, I wouldn't know everything, so I might brush over some things which have happened. George, it's a lie, rumour. Zachary Wright wasn't removed from the case. Go ask Noah's family. Right. Sam, it's a lie or it's a rumour, who started it? Lilia or somebody else? And what's the point behind it, starting it? Julianne, we, the general public, do not have anything factual as far as that information goes, and why would we? So, you know what I'm going to do, in all fairness, I'm probably going to have to rechange the bloody title of the video with a question mark, because of the way this is going. Heard a long time ago he was not working with the case any longer. I mean, look, this is the other thing. If Zachary Wright wasn't at the forefront, but he took a step back, or he was working in the background, or he wasn't as active, but he was still on the case, but to some people that level of silence, people could interpret it or assume as, oh, no longer on it. I mean, look at Caden Pressey. Caden was all talkative and somewhat vocal online, and then he said, I'm not coming back on said YouTube channel and I'm done. And Justin, I think, made a reference that Caden's working in the background. In what way working in the background? Anyway, beside that, what else do we have? Heard a long time ago he was not working on the case any longer. He was in an article in the beginning after being there as an officer on scene where Noah was found. He said, in his own words, that something didn't sit right about this case or the manner of which Noah was found with all the injuries on the highway. After they may added more officers or detectives to investigate further? Question. I don't think anyone knows, but Noah's family would be informed, I'm sure, on this. Holly. Before we jump to conclusions, facts are essential. If people would stop spreading misleading thoughts, it would be much more beneficial. Okay. Check all these responses. Ooh, there's a lot of them. Lilia. Has it been verified to not be true? Denise. Can you show us where it is public information that he was removed from Noah Presgrove's case due to being paid under the table? Wait, where's Pamela? I can't see Pamela's comment, unless it was deleted or removed. Anonymous response, I call BS. There is not one of those statements that you made that you can back as fact. You literally just called Zachary Wright underhanded OHP officer. And you want to claim that you're here to back the family when you don't back the people that they have asked everybody to support, the LE and all that are working with them. The main thing the family is asked of everybody is to support LE, and you just threw them under the bus. There's Pamela now. Then why the earlier comment wasn't visible. Did I mention facts regarding LE? No, I didn't. I mentioned known facts, nothing stating a fact about LE, except perhaps accident reports. I'll dig because it's been almost 2 years, but the information I'm referring to is fact. What's a known fact versus actual facts? Oh no. Denise, no, you said common sense. Then you made accusations with the little PO, private investigator, in the midst of it, but then continued to make statements as if you knew they were fact. Why do you think everybody else is asking what facts you have to back your accusations with? Miranda Williams. The family is no longer sitting on their hands waiting on OHP for answers. That should speak volumes. Because of the wrongful death lawsuit being filed and the subpoena as well towards the OHP. That is true, and that is why we shall wait to see what is further down the road with the case. The family has taken the further steps now and no longer waiting. Technically waiting until the key dates that show up and then the next steps forward, but it is some movement and it's done official. That's good. As for the general public and community, all they can do is wait and talk about things in between, like what's happening here in a way. Denise, looks like Pamela removed herself along with all her comments and accusations, unless somebody else knows something different. Did she remove herself or was she removed? Well, it looked like I seen the odd comment by her, but the other ones above have gone. Oh, never mind, she just blocked me. Wonder who else she blocked. Well, the thing is, Denise, Pamela's comments, the ones above at the very start, are no longer to be seen visibly, but I can see her odd other comment down below, which I've just read out, so maybe there's a bit more to it. Brenda, I can still see one of her comments. There we go. Yeah, that's true, Brenda. News articles she posted have been removed then. Why? What were those news articles about? About the case? I'm glad she removed those. I don't know what her point was on that anyway. Maybe it was irrelevant. Right. I thought she had responded to you and I didn't know if you had also noticed, but come to find out she did. Okay. Weird. How do we know he was removed? Says Andrea Chubrov. Oh, we got Mike Johnson. I don't believe he was removed. Just more detectives were added that had less cases at the time. I could be wrong, but I recall this being asked a while back and he was not removed from the case. We've got Lisa Horner White. With the way Noah's case has been going, nothing surprises me. Always seeking justice for Noah and his family. Amen. Could be a conflict of interest, but with this case, who knows? Conflict of interest. I guess some of the factors what I've mentioned earlier could put the argument across and support that. So we've reached the end of the comments there. Bit of a weird situation. Some claiming that Zachary has gone, been kicked or removed himself, and another saying, is there any actual hard evidence or proof of it? See, this is like a small example, the basis and grounds of where things get out of hand, more so in the past by different people. So I'll make sure to make the title appropriate for this video, but I think just to fill some things out, we've got time to look at the comment section of one of my recent videos to do with the case in general. Let's start at the bottom, work our way up, not too many. This guy, Knobs, they are hiding something, and where are the golf clubs at? Is that why Jack Newton sold his ATV and truck to hide evidence? Well, the thing is, when Jack was selling one of his vehicles or whatever, to afford the cost of buying a boat which you could use at a lake like Wairika, I believe it was put on Facebook Marketplace, but it wasn't done with urgency, it wasn't exactly rushed, and some say it was actually put up before the party, and others say at whatever time it was, even if it was around the time of Noah's death, it wasn't snapped up, it wasn't sold quick. And if they wanted to get rid of evidence, they would be trying to sell it as cheap as possible, or even selling it in person in hand to try and move it on quick. That wasn't the case. So if they're in no rush to sell it, maybe there's not much to hide and they're not worried. Moving on. We got Maria. Maria is back. Hi, WarLike Wrath. My opinions and my thoughts. That woman, I'm sorry, but I think she was murdered. Okay, so Maria is sharing her thoughts on the Rebecca Zahau case and situation. So you think she was murdered? Who will hang themselves and tie their feet, tie their hands around their back? I do not believe that person tried to even help, as in Adam Shacknai, who claimed to cut her down, claimed to give her CPR. Maria believes that he didn't really try to help her. May have claimed to, or pretended to appear innocent, you could argue. Maria says, if you're going to cut the string, why not lift the person up? Instead of cutting the string, you know she will drop to her death. That is a fair point, Maria. Unless the person felt it's pointless because she's already dead. But still, it can be done in a respectful way, of course, unless it's rushed. But the only thing that I could possibly put across as a counterpoint, Maria, she was 2 foot from the ground. Only 2 foot. Not a great drop exactly, but if she had fallen and landed, and depending on if she was conscious or semi-conscious still, she could have fallen badly and banged her head. Now, maybe Adam, who saw her, instantly knew or assumed that she was dead, so not much more you could do. But the fact that Adam claimed to have given her CPR implies that Adam believed that she could still be alive, or that she could be brought back to life, that there was still a chance. And for as long as there is still a chance, then how you cut her down and how she drops to the ground, you need to catch her in your arms and not let her fall to the ground. I do understand what Maria is getting at here. It's a key point. So yeah, definitely. This is crazy and frightening. Rest in peace. My condolences to Rebecca's family. And as Noah Presgrove, I will still continue saying he was killed. My opinion and my thoughts. That's fine. Thank you, WarLike Wrath, for always keeping us informed. So nice of you. Appreciate that, Maria, and for you being present and watching my videos. It's really good. We got TJ as well. I've started to think that this was a hit and run. It could be a unique case where the injuries don't match other hit and run cases. So you think that because it doesn't match the normal hit and run cases, that's why it was ruled out by police. But wouldn't police have, and OHP have enough experience to know of those unusual occasions of hit and runs where the injuries are a bit different? I wonder. But anyway, I kind of feel like the detectives were pressured into ruling out a hit and run by the public and family. You mean the family of Noah? Now, of course, that would be an interesting situation, being pressured by words and only words by the general public and Noah's family, when the counterpoint by some in the case have been, well, detectives or police or OHP have treated it a certain way because they're being paid off by those with deep pockets within the case, and family of family members and friends of friends, which makes absolutely no sense in that case because police OHP did rule out hit and run. So another way of interpreting hit and run being ruled out, but maybe it could still apply somehow based on unique, rare occasions of injuries tied with the same type of death. There is a level of pressure or being rushed. You never know, there could be twists and turns. It's interesting what TJ says. It's outside of the box thinking, and that can be important at times. Here we've got Blink. He had, so I guess this is Noah had air in his spine as per the autopsy report, which is a rare occasion that only happens if a person was hit real hard on the top of the head, maybe with the golf clubs. This is no hit and run. Why are his injuries all internal bleeding to the upper torso? Maybe run deliberately by the side-by-side which Jack Newton sold. Question, why are his shorts folded beside his corpse? This is a murder for me. Well, the reason why the shorts are folded is because they were originally in the middle of the road, the highway. Jack came along at a later time, 6 in the morning onwards, came across the shorts and was thinking probably need to be picked up so they don't get run over by any oncoming vehicles, just to preserve them. But by touching them, you're contaminating it with your own DNA, touch base, especially if you're not wearing gloves. So Jack picks them up. Police guy or police are present. They don't contest or say anything. Once Jack gets it back to the back of his truck, police guy orders Jack to get them back out and place them down. And then supposedly police guy ends up folding them up, placing them near Noah's body. Was the police guy wearing gloves? You'd hope to think Sam. And apologies if I said Noah's shorts. I mean the white shorts which were borrowed by Noah at the time belonged to Jack Newton. Carl, never heard of or had any attention given to air in the spine. Yeah, I wasn't aware of it myself unless I glanced. I think like the former FBI agent Fillmore on Partners in True Crime interview theorises that he was run over by a truck or side-by-side lengthwise to avoid tyre tracks across his body and possibly a beatdown or accident. But they panicked and staged the body on the highway. I leaned towards Noah falling out of the Texas boy's truck, waking up drunk and disorientated and losing balance and falling out of the truck and hitting his head and dying, and them not knowing he was in the back whilst they drove home. It would make sense as in people of interest or witnesses just not knowing because they just didn't know in the first place that Noah was present, and that can lead to an accidental death where people aren't directly involved and weren't to know at the time. Brenda says, shorts were in the road, yes, white ones, later placed near Noah by authority on scene. One of the 911 callers said it looked like clothing in the middle. Exactly. TJ, oh God, we've got a long word here. Pew or pneumocephalus is caused by a fractured skull. Pneumorachus, I can't say the words, is caused by severe trauma to the chest spine. Both are pretty uncommon, but a majority in the case in which these have occurred have been from car accidents. He really could have been involved in a hit and run. It's actually more likely that those specific injuries were caused by a hit and run or car accident rather than him being beat. Oh no, we got Rachel. Jack picked them up and placed them on the bed of his truck. Yes, before they were placed back on the road. And let's not act like we know it was Ellie because could have been anyone at the scene. Well, at least in the People article it mentioned about police being present, but maybe that's not enough. Brenda says, I'm fully aware of Jack picking up the shorts and placing them on the bedside of his pickup. The point of my comment is to correct the rumour that Noah was found with the shorts folded near him. Exactly. Please tell us who exactly folded these shorts. Carl, white shorts were laying on the road, Noah's body, but not folded. I'm not sure who folded them. Do you know? Well, from how I've heard it worded by Jack Newton, I believe, in the Partners in True Crime interview to the People article, it was police or a police person. Joyce Brigau, shorts were folded by L.E., I believe. Yes. I mean, I've documented on my channel, mentioned in news articles and in Jack's interview, I believe. Interesting. George Greer gave no insight into the settlement. All I'm at liberty to say is that the case has been resolved. He said outside court he declined to say how much, if any, money was involved. Shacknai, brother of Zahao's boyfriend at the time of her death, Jonah Shacknai, said outside court that his insurance company did an end around on him and that the settlement was far less pittance than the 5.1 million. I've heard that figure. They were tired of throwing money at it, he said. Both he and his lawyer, Seth Weisburst, said Adam Shacknai himself was not paying out any money. So this is a template for any payout in Noah's case. Even if a jury trial finds fault and does whatever awarding of payout, it'll get appealed, and then what? Insurance payout from non-existent insurance? Or it'll get thrown out. ME doesn't change his cause of death on the ME report, and then defendants launch a tsunami and defamation lawsuits against anyone and everyone. We'll see. Partners in true crime might want to increase their premiums. They're going to need the extra coverage. Okay. Julie, if Noah was seen walking towards the highway, how did he get into the bed of a truck? Was the truck parked down the road? That is a possibility. You know, when going east, going down that dirt road, other vehicles parked up, partygoers, Texas boys. Noah could have climbed into one, rested beside one, slept, passed out, who knows? And then the vehicle ended up moving, possibly, as people got back to the vehicle. Has it ever happened before with Noah? I think there might have been a rare occasion. It was in the words of a member of the general public, so we've got to be careful there. But they mentioned something about Noah Presgrove ended up passing out, and then next thing you know, he woke up in Oklahoma City or something because he fell asleep in the back of a vehicle. If that's truly true, well then it could have happened again and repeated itself. Brenda, my opinion, LE weren't paid off. There are at least 2 agencies involved in the investigation that we are aware of. What, OHP and FBI, or OHP and who else? Shout out Glenn for watching, appreciate that. Carl, as I watched your cool Lego demonstration of Noah's body being dumped on the highway, your discussion of how it might have been moved staged to look like an accident and not necessarily a hit and run, I had never thought of that possibility. I actually think you're onto something important. Also, in the Rebecca Zahau case, I think Adam knocked her off the balcony. He used gloves, and that's why there's no touch-based DNA available, quite possible. Also, not a lot or any internal injuries because she didn't drop but was lowered down off the balcony, reducing the drop effect, reducing the chances of a broken spine, vertebrae and all of that. Hey, WarLike Wrath, do you know if the retrial of the suicide of Rebecca Zahau has been completed, and did the plaintiffs make their case for murder? If the retrial was completed, do you know the final outcome? I don't think I've seen it myself, but I can imagine the way it's gone and where things are at right now, it probably was just ruled out and just seen as suicide, and that was it. I think it was worded as the wrongful death lawsuit, and what the family were hoping for, more to it than suicide. It was just ruled out at the end and it kind of fell flat. It could always heat back up again, you never know. Gary, some person called Gary says again, never forget this is Oklahoma, which probably has some of the country's most corrupt citizens and law enforcement. They claim to be the reddest state in the country and act like they're proud of that shameful designation, which means they're okay with misinformation being presented as the truth and in covering up anything that keeps them from pursuing various selfish and evil agendas. I support all efforts to get at the truth, but I'm increasingly discouraged at the possibility of that ever happening due to the shenanigans with which this state has come to be known. Right, and that's pretty much it for the comments. Some interesting points about the hit and run situation, about the injuries to the autopsy as well. These type of comments, which I've not seen before, is healthy in the case. It gives different perspectives and who knows where it leads to. With that all being said, hopefully you enjoyed the video. The situation with Zachary Wright seems a bit messy, but it's like other examples in the past. As long as correct language and wording and the actual questions and skepticism there is present, then it will keep things a little bit balanced and stable by people really questioning, is it really true? Do we actually have evidence to show Zachary stepping down or not assigned to the case anymore, and so on? Even if he is still assigned to the case, some people may not be pleased by it. If Zachary, I don't know if there was additional comments. I'm just wondering, Could it have been reposted on the Noah's Ark page, that same one about Zachary Wright, an alternative outlaw? I can't remember now, because I'm sure I saw Michelle Ray Brummett's comment, but that's on the Ark page. Apologies about that if it's not been shown. But from the looks of it, from this perspective, it seems to be a rumour or a lie, which is disappointing. Who knows what's going on in the background. Let's just see what happens next. I mean, I think it was important to mention about the deadline of July 31st, which I think was the subpoena with OHP in handing stuff over, information and all the evidence on the investigation, what can be handed over, interviews, audio, videos, photos and all that, to the family of Noah. Has that happened by now? Has it been a success? Who knows? It's in the background. It might come out in the future, whether they get all the material instantly or not. If it has happened, it might be interesting to measure the next steps and movement made by the family and where it can go and lead to. But in the meantime, it's going to be a bit silent. But there's the odd other video that I can do here and there, at least 2 in my mind at this moment. And then we'll see. So appreciate your patience. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.